And even if you were to have like a prompt of 10 different things, right? Like say if you had one prompt of like, oh, like here's 10 different personality traits, here's 10 different superpowers, here's 10 different drawbacks.
I like coming up with random list of powers and then just see what I come up with.
Imagine rolling just those things every single time. It's always going to vary. The possibility of that happening is, again, like a 1 in 10 chance, but it's like, it shows that there's an infinite
There's always something else cool right around the corner that we can come up with, because there's no end to the prompts. There's no end to what we can roll up.
Now we're going to be officially rolling for superpowers. This is usually the make or break.
Roll for hero.
Alrighty, ayo, and hello everyone, and welcome to Roll for Hero, a segment of the channel in which we let the dice dictate what on God's green earth we will be drawing for this session. It is me, your ever weird, never loving Uncle E, and of course, with me today is, of course, our big bearded, bald-headed, beautiful co-star, claimed to be the world's sexiest man of all time. You know him, you love him, Mr. Fish.
What is up? That is a heck of an intro. I don't know how I could compete with that, man.
It's like a wrestling intro, you gotta do like, and in this corner, weighing 235, milligrams. We got, you know what I mean?
Well, there's 2 viewers watching, Ben. It's just only one of you are commenting, but I can see there's 2 people watching.
Got 2 whole people. Whoa, would you look at that? We got 2 whole people. Crazy,
man. We going big time. Usually we got quite a few in the thing, but I think missing last week probably gave us a ding, because that always hurts. It always hurts when we miss out, but things come up, and sometimes it just can't be avoided. But
there's a lot of things happening. I had last week we weren't able to partake because, for one, I was celebrating a friend's graduation. They've officially graduated out of college since they've been stuck in the system for 9 years. So now they're officially out as a fun film student. So now they're going to go out and about, do what they got to do with the skills that they have apprehended. I'm very happy for, my said friend. I don't know if they want me to, state their name and whatnot. But other than that, congratulations if you're somehow watching. But yeah, we were just kind of chilling out with friends and stuff like that. It was a good time, yes. Last week, really nice time to relax too, because right now the whims of life, they be lifing and it be hitting hard. Hey, howdy, hey, how we doing, everybody? Popping on into the chat. Thank you so much for popping on over and hanging out with your 2 weird unks. Just here to roll up some fun characters. But before we roll up any other crazy, chaotic character for the duration of this season, Mr. Fish, I believe that it is time that we actually did a bit of a fun little fan art section, if I am incorrect.
Yeah, here we did. We have got a lot of entries from Ben Art over here. This, if I'm not mistaken, let's embiggen this one. Hold on a second. Let me get my mouse on, because I got way too many screens going on. Oh man, and it did me dirty. All right, there we go.
Come on.
Okay. There we go. This, if I'm not mistaken, this one is a mix of both of the heads that we rolled up the other week, because it's got that robot shape on top and the obvious duck bill.
Yeah, from our doodles.
Yeah. Ludwig Quackington. He is one of a few surviving members of the Violet Squawktons. Always awesome backstories and stuff we got. And then we got Lockhart Snowden here. And I mean, they just go on and on with Ben Art. He's got so many of them. There's a lot of other stuff in the way. I loved this design. These are amazing. Really cool. I love the 2-headed design and the flexible arms, the whole 9 yards. And then the whole like pirate vibe he's got going on.
You got like a macho pirate, man. I mean, this is honestly, this looks like a really fun kind of character that would be like this, like the maybe a potential side character that you could focus on here and there. But he's like the don't you worry, son, I'll take it from here kind of a concept.
Yeah, like the Mr. Smee and the pirates from Neverland. Like he's that side character that you recognize and you know, and you're waiting to see what kind of crazy thing he's going to do this time. That's the vibe he gives me.
Okay, that's actually really cool too. What is that, like a duck or a dinosaur? A little bit of both, a little bit of everything?
It looks like a 3-eyed turtle dude with 3 fingers, 3 toes, which I dig the symmetry of threes. That's really cool. But yeah, it looks like a lot of turtle inspiration on that guy. And then, of course, another character for the pirate world, Carmela Alston, captain of the crew of the villainous pirates called the Black Skulls.
Ooh.
And I mean, and they just keep coming. Hold on. Let me keep scrolling down here.
Yeah, if there's anyone, Ben Art takes the hat on
I'm telling you, man.
a ton of Roll for Hero characters. Honestly, you kind of beat me on that because I only think I managed to roll up like maybe a couple on hand. I actually have a few drawings I've done on my own accord, and I wanted to turn them into like a fun video series. I just haven't gotten around to doing it because exhaustion be hitting me a lot. I really got to plow through that, but these are really cool, like really awesome creature designs, really cool. Like this to me, this is shark, but there might be more to it. Oh man, yeah, just all the lore developed in that. That's insane. And that's like every single image from Ben Art. Like
every one of them. Every one of them.
My boy, you are going insane. At this point, you got to pick a character and lock in to create your own universe. Your art is amazing. We just got to see something out of this, you know, like it's great with all the characters. We got to see a comic now, you know? I feel like you have a lot of that potential there, you know? But that is just
dude, check out this one. This one is really awesome. The way this one came out with all the texture and the color scheme is out of this freaking world. Let's see. Brick, he was an alien experimented on and created by the Armada to be used as a weapon alongside other experiments of the Armada with abilities of cosmic energy, enhance jump, and cloak into his environment. His powers had limits, but Brick didn't believe that the Armada should be taking over the universe. A failed experiment gave him cosmic energy, jumping, cloaking powers, and he's in it for his own glory. Oh, I love that. And then Pirates and Superheroes, we got Zelda Gotham over here, who has super strength, electricity, and shock and jump powers activated by a specific food. And she's out for fighting.
Over here
is good for a pirate.
Yeah, actually, Benjamin stating that Brick it's like took Lilo and Stitch inspiration. I definitely saw it in the face, especially the eyes and the nose. So I can definitely see that. And again, I've now noticed that a lot of your style comes from Pop Cross, which is very, very interesting, especially the way that you tend to color, render, and even do shape languages with the costume patterns and stuff. Very, very good stuff. So, everybody, all right. I mean, if you guys want to also have your art be shown, make sure to utilize the hashtag Roll4Hero. That is basically, you know, the letters ROLL, the number 4, and HERO. Post on any variation on social media. Fish and I will do everything that we can to basically, you know, grab what we can and to show it all off here. Because, again, the whole point of the show is just to inspire creativity from dice rolls and your cracked out imagination. And, I mean, heck, I might as well even get to toss my hat into the ring over here because I actually managed to do some fun little – oh, wrong one. Oh, my Lord. There we go. I even managed to kind of toss my hat into the ring, and I actually created a few characters myself. I kind of did some characters on – at some point I want to kind of do this as like a fun little video series I call Solo Roll, where I roll up my own characters based off of the entire prompts of the Roll for Hero handbook that I have no idea if we have available at the time being.
I don't have one handy.
Well, I mean, I got a few here. So, I mean, I'll talk about, like, you know, if it's out and about. But the funny part is that as much as
it is available in the comment, in the description. You can get a link to it to sign up and get it right there in the PDF in the comments. I meant to mention that.
Every single one of these drawings I'm about to show you has been like rolled up from strictly this entire handbook. But the funny part is that all these characters that you're about to see, some of them are actually rolled by my friends, not really by entirely me. So I'm like, all right, for kicks and giggles, I asked them, hey, take some dice, roll some funny ideas here. Let's see what we kind of got going on. So the first one that you're looking at right now, I don't know why the name Velcro stuck with me for this one. So what was it? Because I actually still kept all their, you know, powers and abilities and stuff like that listed here. So we have a not so good, responsible type of hero who got their powers from a retired hero and ended up, you know, giving their powers over to them. And the powers were basically, two minor powers, that being, you know, super climb and echolocation. And they have a skill of being like a mechanic. And then basically the optional modifier is the fact that their powers are essentially killing them. So the main character here ends up having to create a suit to kind of help regulate that, basically kind of giving her like maybe the vaccine all throughout, whenever she's doing her crime fighting, just so she can even manage. So we have obviously Velcro over here. Love this design. This was a lot of fun to put together. It was just very simple, very much like a cyberpunk-ish kind of superhero. And then I had another friend of mine rolling up an entirely different kind of character, and who's now, again, the character art was done by me, but they ended up doing their own rendition of it. But this is what we came up with. This is Gloria.
Oh man, that came out cool.
Now, Gloria is a not so good type of hero, but she is a glory seeker. And then on top of that, she basically trained her body to peak performance, and it ended up giving her 3 minor powers, which is to power mimic, also as well as echolocation and energy absorption. And the optional modifier is that she actually has like a nice ride. So she probably rides like some kind of a really cool souped out type of motorcycle. She's one of those like celebrity heroes that were, she's like basically like a glory seeker. So she like probably has her, like a
like
film
the
crew.
Paris Hilton of superheroes, like pulling up on a gold motorcycle and be like, "That's hot." Like, yeah, I could
Exactly. She's like, "Oh my god, crime here, ew, I don't like that." But then,
doing
like,
it for the views. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. And of course, like the appeal of said character. I thought this was a lot of fun to, work on. Again, love the design. And also, I started implementing or I started working with a new set of brushes from Procreate, because it turns out now they have like an in batch, like they have like a in programmed like batch of whatchamacallit, it's like comic brushes. So I was like, okay, thanks. So this was here the whole time. So that was one of their newer updates. So I finally got to test that out. So that's what I drew a lot of these characters with. The next character I ended up doing was like this righteous kind of hero who has water-based powers. Let me see, hold on, because I tend to keep all their powers at bay here. A truly heroic and a responsible kind of hero who was chosen by an ancient entity to be their avatar, with 1 major power, which is to alter their body with element armor, which I end up rolling for water, and a sonic scream as their secondary power. Or is there a minor power? So 1 major, 1 minor, and then
It's pretty fishy.
Exactly. And then basically the optional modifier is the fact that she had to like fully transform in order to activate her powers. So, there we go. So it doesn't look like the kind of responsible type of hero, but I mean, she looks like she's willingly ready to be abrasive with her, water adjacent abilities. And then, oh yeah, this was a lot of fun, especially drawing a little bit of the backgrounds. This one, I think I had the wife roll up, which was some kind of a super villain who had energy absorption and all this other. I'm not really proud of the design for this. It looks very basic, but I think that's also like the beauty of it all is that this villain can look intimidating if you know how to like draw it in the right intimidating kind of style. Like sure, he looks like that one typical like anime kid that's too cool for school, but like he could probably rock your.
A lot of times, like Luther is just a guy in a suit. The Kingpin is just a fat guy in a suit. Like, they don't all have super crazy iconic looks with giant arms coming out of their torso like Doc Ock, but they can still be intimidating and be terrifying and be dangerous. And I like that kind of guy. I like the villain that can blend in kind of thing. They don't all have to be blue skinned with giant ears sticking out and stuff.
Exactly.
Look like a monster.
But speaking of looking like a monster, we then also happen to have Dart, which is this one was a lot of fun to work on because this one was like a mutant animal, and I ended up rolling a poison dart frog who has the ability to have like metal armored skin, but they're also like a righteous kind of hero. They're a lab experiment, and what is it called? Here it is, because it's obvious a lot here. I just don't want to keep going in and out. So yeah, so essentially, this character over here is, oh my god, can we please work with me today? Thank you. Alter body with metal armor. They also have the ability to create weapons from their body, hence why you have like the Mega Man style, arm cannon over here with the strange little plasma blast looking thing. And of course, to give it that mutant factor, I gave them like little antennas. I just love putting antennas on characters because I think that's also a fun additional like thing of like emotions that you can express from those, you
Oh
know?
yeah.
So I just love the way that this came out. This design was a lot of fun, and I actually contemplated, like, I had that dopamine rush all throughout that day, being like, "Oh, I want to make a little story out of him," but I'm like, "No, no, I can't." As typical as it is for all of us, if we let's see this guy in the world we grew up. You know what? That might be a thing. Who knows? I mean, we'll see how that works out. Then the second to last one I did was this dude right over here. Was like this eagle
Oh,
dude who can like alter his body with a simple weapon. He can fly. His powers come from an ancient artifact, but he's like a righteous hero who's a profit seeker. So, man's trying to make bread while also being like a righteously responsible hero. And I feel like he would definitely be like a corporate government type of guy. And
Captain Capitalism.
exactly, there you go. Love this design. This was very interesting because I also took a little inspiration when you did your alien character for the handbook, where like you got to show off like the fact he's like a corporate sponsor, so you had like all these little patches on him and whatnot. So I kind of took that element there. And then this one's a work in progress where it's a dude with echolocation, animal powers, and he was given his powers through like an alien. And I was gonna call this guy like Black Beast or something like that because he just looks like, I don't know, there was a vibe to it, and I wanted to work on it a little bit more, but haven't gotten
Oh, I
around to it.
love that helmet. That is awesome.
Oh yeah, a lot of tokusatsu. If it wasn't obvious that those are like my favorite inspirations, I will say Japanese superheroes 100% has it nailed down when it comes to their suit designs. It's just the fact that they're very impractical to get into.
Oh yeah, 100%. But I mean, I love the fact that they just steered into our heroes should have a helmet and stuck with it for generations because that's the one thing that drives me nuts about American superheroes is that somebody is going to just put on a paper thin like domino mask and go out and start getting smacked in the head and not like immediately get taken out in a fight because it just takes one lucky punch and your lights go out. You may not even be knocked out, but it just turns out the lights and you can't see anymore. I've known and experienced so many people in fights that just one lucky punch and all of a sudden they can't see and now it's just defense because all the swinging in the world ain't going to do any good if you don't know what you're swinging at.
Pretty much. I mean, honestly, but here's the thing, though. We have to thank Spider-Man for the concept of those kind of heroes being out and about. Because if Spider-Man wasn't here, we wouldn't have like without Spider-Man, we wouldn't have Power Rangers. It was such like a weird tie-in. So if you actually know the history of Power Rangers and tokusatsu in general, Spider-Man or like some dude from here in America decided to go to Japan and be like, hey, let's make a deal with Marvel, see what we can do. And they made an entire Spider-Man show, which actually was the first show to create the concept of a hero piloting a giant robot while fighting an evil organization. Then from there, you have Super Sentai, all these other kind of crazy other teams and whatnot, leading with guys wearing helmets. But it all started with Spider-Man. So
I think it probably would have got there anyway without him, probably. But
it would have taken longer.
I think Spider-Man is that jumping off point was really cool. And I find it very interesting how they got into the robots and mechs and stuff. And, because after the war, they really didn't want to do war toys and especially war toys with human characters. So they ended up steering into robots and making a lot of robot characters that could fight against each other or whatnot. And then it ends up becoming more about transforming and more about dealing with the atomic fallout and the worries about that. It's just really neat to see how everything evolved. And then you get giant mechanized robots and everybody driving mech suits and Godzilla and all of these giant radioactive monsters and how just all of that evolves out of their history and experience. It's really cool. What I've been working on over the last couple of days, I was supposed to launch the next Alice Kickstarter in June, but I'm working on a client's book right now, and I've been talking it over with TS, and we're going to start looking for some publishers and stuff to pitch Alice to and see where we're going to go from there. So that's going to slow things down a little bit on that, but that gives me free time. And like I've said a million times here on this show, I kind of want to go back and just do a black and white ash can comic. And I thought, I could do that and still launch in June and cross promote with a buddy of mine locally here that I was wanting to cross promote to help lift up his book and get him some more attention. And then I got to thinking we could do like a role for hero type book and make it a short book and work on it on live streams like this and let people like Dragon Gaming and Ben and Eddie and Mr. Nope and everybody else, Dadpool, wherever he is. uh,
Come on.
but we could work on it here and let people kick out ideas of what's going to happen and like what should happen next in the book or what kind of setting it should be in. And I thought, you know what, that would be a lot of fun. And we could put like a low goal on it that's easy to hit and just do it for the fun of doing it and work on it. And not for nothing, then I could have another book on the table that would be more kid friendly. That's the one thing about it. I had always kind of thought about Space 8 being maybe teen age around there, but I'm thinking I want to keep it all ages friendly. There could still have cool stuff in it. It can still have romance or whatnot. It needs to be within reason,
Oh, for sure. I mean,
stuff.
I was gonna say maybe you got the all ages kind, and then from there you can proceed to do the absolute rendition and just go like make an entire different variation, go hardcore with it. You got hey, listen, there's kid friendly Spider-Man, and then you got Ultimate Spider-Man. You got all the violent stuff, and then you got some that are for kids. I mean, who knows?
Fixing action figures when you could have been here hanging out with your boys. Come on, Dadpool, where's you at, man?
Hey, listen, he's adapting skills in listen,
the action figures need work. The action figures need work. I can't knock it. I can't knock it.
Yes, but other than that, I mean, you got the image of right over here. You got Space Ape right there above you.
Yeah, let me embiggen it. And so this is Space Ape. I think this is probably the rendition of his costume I'm going to go with now. But essentially, he was just a monkey that got shot into space on a test rocket to test out a new like faster than light engine, and he ends up getting shot into the future, very Buck Rogers style, and gets sent like a million years into the future, gets found and raised by this scientist, and he becomes like a science-based superhero, saving the day with inventions and outsmarting the bad guys, and a very positive, very everybody deserves a second chance kind of guy. Very nice, very, very earnestly heroic, maybe a little bit blind to the reality of the world and doesn't realize that, some people can be two-faced and whatnot. Oh, yes, absolutely, Ben. They are not the same. And why he grows up into that is ridiculous, and going through the time turns him green. Like he comes out the other side green, as a green monkey. And then as he's raised by this scientist, he grows larger and larger over the years until he becomes the size of a gorilla. And I'm thinking we're going to find out later that the scientist was experimenting on him and like eventually realize that his childhood wasn't as peachy as he remembers it being. But, but he's a very positive guy, a very, let's save the day. Everybody deserves a second chance. And alongside, he's got this single-celled mechanic that he picked up, Violet, that can blorp and shift through all the cracks and crevices of the ship. She's a technopath, so she can fix the ship, and basically it only works for her because of her abilities, but her and the ship don't get along real well, and she's really crazy for Space Ape, and he's absolutely oblivious to it. Like, oh, if I could only get a girl like her, and she is doing everything but throwing herself at him. And then in the spirit of well, see, Ben, you're reading my mind, because that's coming down the line. I've got him all planned out. It's gonna be awesome. But the third in their little trio is Butch, who is a reprogrammed butcher bot, which oh god, I wrote down what it was and I can't remember now, but it's Oh, it's basically a
You
bionic
you
robot
sent it to-
designed to hunt
Here,
humans
here,
and
hold on.
chop.
I got it. Oh, did you already say? Because I
Yeah,
have
I
it
sent
here.
it to you on Discord. I didn't write it down on here. I meant to, and I
Here, I
forgot.
got you. I got you. You wrote down the following. Bionic urban tactical combat human elimination robot.
Yeah, they are designed to pacify humans and disassemble them. And Space Ape and
Violet.
Space Ape and Violet come across him at some point and end up reprogramming him. And now it's his job to help people, and he really doesn't like it. And he's very surly about it and is always complaining. And, every time he's bandaging somebody up, it's, oh, you humans are far too easy to take apart. Or they will catch him reading like human disassembly manuals. And he's like, I have to know how to take them apart before I can know how to put them back together. Like, he's always like really wants to be the bad guy, but he can't because of his programming, and says things in as menacingly a way as he can, but has to be a nice guy. Eventually, I would like to see him become genuinely a nice guy, if a bit surly, and really lean into it eventually. But kind of like the Doctor in Star Trek Voyager, you got to have time for growth. And so he's got like stun blasters and stuff, and he does have knives and things because he's been reprogrammed to do the cooking and all this stuff. So is Bush going to accidentally reboot himself? Oh, that would stink, man.
That would be hilarious. But again, we'll figure it out whenever maybe Fish does it as a fun little live stream. I mean, again, when he mentioned the fact that he wanted to do like a Roll for Hero book, I was so stoked for the idea. And trust me, stoked was not even the word. I was beyond that. But, this would be an amazing opportunity because, we'll figure out what we'll do, season-wise, see what we can do with it. I actually can't wait for the day I can actually obtain a little, ash can of Space Ape and see where that goes, because that looks like a blast and a half. And
it's going to be a lot of fun. And it's the perfect place to introduce other characters that we rolled up, like from the Jupiter Jack season, would be great to fit into this world.
100%.
And I'm actually thinking, the more I've been thinking about it, because the star I put on his outfit like 4 years ago is so similar to the star that I put on Meteor Mandy's costume. It got me thinking about it, and I was like, it'd be a cool fit would be if he was like deputized by
the Cosmic Coalition.
Yeah, and he was deputized to like basically be the sheriff of this stretch of space, and he's out there Lone Ranger style, trying to save the day. And then I got to thinking it would be really fun to have some tropes at the where like who was that green ape? Well, that was no green ape, son. That's Space Ape. Kind of like they did with the Lone Ranger.
Just give it the ultimate. Man? Just give it like the '60s cheese that this kind of series needs.
Yeah.
Because honestly, we need some of that in this day and age. As much as we love all the in-depth, intricate storytelling, you just need to tell a story about a green space ape going around doing space stuff.
Just saving the day, being a
Are
good
these
guy.
words that I thought I would ever utter out of my mouth? Absolutely not. But then again, we have said a lot of weirder things on this show. And speaking of this show, I believe we have to finally get on to and roll up, a whole character and then some, because we have spent basically about a solid 30 minutes just yipping and yapping and everything else in between. So just to kind of recap what we've done so far for season 3 of, Roll for Hero, we basically kind of have this entire setting in a basically Bronze Age style alien planet. So at first we were trying to come up with different alien concepts. So we came up with a bunch of duels for different heads. So for instance, my character right over here happens to be an ancient Aztec alchemist paladin. Basically, a paladin who actually, took the oath of understanding how the herbs can work to benefit and create a better tomorrow. And again, since it's Bronze Age and it's the Aztec Empire, Cusco was actually my main inspiration for, some of the design elements here. And then on the second episode, we ended up rolling ancient Egyptian rogues. And for me, I did more of a politician adjacent kind of rogue right over here, where in his case, he's more on the higher side of things. And you can't really see a lot of the shell on his back because in Egyptian mythology, turtles were actually considered, or like a turtle is used for one of the evil gods. So it's really hard to tell if you can trust him or not. Mr. Fish ended up drawing an actual fish person who was actually a rogue baker, which was very interesting to see how that works out. Then on, what was it? Because this makes 4, right? Because it's 1, 2, this is 3. So on the third episode, we ended up creating, we ended up rolling the Chinese pantheon, or the Chinese culture, if you will. And I took his doodle, and he took my doodle, and then we managed to come up with 2 different things. So for me, I created a dragon like blacksmith, because that was one of the things that I rolled up. And for him, he's like a Beast Wars transformer in a weird way, where he's like a dragon, but he actually has to transform into this robotic kind of creature. So this is actually like the Bronze Age like transformer. And then last episode, which was I'm assuming 2 weeks ago, we ended up rolling Native American mythology, and I rolled up a druid, and this is one of the characters that I ended up drawing. So he's like this, chosen, destined, traveler, if you will, by the spirits of this world to, fix the lands of some kind. And this ended up kind of giving a lot of fun, like protagonist kind of vibes, if you will. And then I know that for Fish, you did your, what was it, like a goat guy, if you will, or something like that?
Yeah, he sort of looked like a mountain goat or something. I'm trying to see if I can dig it up because I didn't think to pull it up earlier. I was too busy pulling up Space Ape. Whoops, that's the wrong folder. And anyway, I can't find him. I can't find him right now quickly, so we'll go on. But
no stress, no worries about it. But today we are going to officially roll in, and we are, well, for one, we're gonna first see which doodles we're gonna be utilizing for this session, and then from there we'll figure it out as we have done thus far for the entirety of the season.
Let's see what we get. Okay,
Ooh,
all right.
Finally got an insect or bug looking one.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so now we have the following. All right, so we are going to take 2d6, Mr. Fish. May you do the honors in rolling that. And if we rolled up something beforehand, we're going to try something else. So the way that we've gone about this season is that we are trying our best not to re-roll anything because we don't want to keep drawing from the same culture, and we want to really diversify a little bit.
So, did that one.
We did the Aztec.
Yeah. Yeah, we did Egyptian.
Oh.
Come on, need something other than 7. Celtic. Okay. Celtic we haven't done yet.
All right, we have a Celtic. And now for the class. I'll take care of this one. It's going to be... Have we done monk before or no?
No, I don't think so.
All right, so we have a Celtic monk. So by D&D standards, this would be like, a martial artist kind of character.
Time to bug out.
Okay, hold on a second. Okay, we got Celtic monk, and then now we have their occupation. This is probably going to be one of those make or breaks to kind of figure out what on God's green earth this is going to be looking like. All right, Mr. Fish, may you end it off with rolling 3d6 and seeing where we go from here.
All right, 3d6. 9.
Merchant, we already done that one. Or no, wait, hold on.
Oh no, this one we're doing our own.
Yeah, this one we're doing on our own. I think, but
I already did merchant, so.
All right. 12. Well, I didn't do baker.
Okay, I haven't done that one. I got Fisher.
All right. So we're doing a Celtic monk style character who happened, well, at least for me, I'm doing a baker, and Mr. Fish is doing, I believe you said, a fisherman?
Yep.
oh boy, how we have some very interesting characters.
Depends on what we're fishing for. All right.
Okay. Oh, my lord.
And then
Here we go.
image.
So the monk bug doesn't cook bugs. I mean, who knows? Who knows? Okay, so now this is where it's always going to get a little interesting, trying to figure out how we are going to make an entire monk character out of this.
Alrighty.
The robot head looks like they say roll out, or like let's roll out. I see what you did there, Shelly.
All right, kelp. I need to do a little reference, see if there's anything really stand out about ancient Celtic.
I think the closest that I can think about to something Celtic related is the like Vikings, if I'm incorrect.
Oh no, Vikings are like Norway and stuff.
That's Nordic, you know. Okay, so Celtic is different. I think
Yeah,
that was like
Celtic
the majority
is like England, Ireland area, like kilts and Braveheart, like that's the Celtic vibe.
Okay, interesting. Because I know that blue. Okay, so then kind of like Braveheart, they have like that blue battle face paint or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, a little bit of a barbarian vibe in some of the images. Some of the armor and stuff is a little similar. Spears, long shields, the whole like Celtic knots and those complex designs of all the interwoven lines are very Celtic. His monk weapon has to be a cast iron skillet.
This is true.
All I could see is somebody yelling, "I cast iron skillet," and somebody else behind you goes, "Thong."
No, see, it's a duo. You got one guy who pretends to be the wizard, and then you actually have the guy who's all the spells. So he goes, "I cast iron."
Oh my god! Okay.
And then all of a sudden he's like, "Wait, what?" Bug monk comes out of nowhere. Iron, you know, just knocks you out.
Okay, one dude is the wizard who's all like show and pomp and circumstance, and the other dude is his apprentice with like a great big backpack full of stuff, mostly fireworks. And you know, they're going around. He's like, you know, I cast magic missile, and dude's over here like lighting bottle rockets and stuff and firing them, and you know, mixing up potions and stuff to make smoke bombs and whatnot on the, and listening to the wizard yell out these big complicated, you know, spells to kind of give him hints of what he should be doing, you know, kind of hints of where I'm going with this, so he knows what to start prepping and make
that
everything
wouldn't be the most hysterical
fantastical
premise for just a single like one-off story. I don't know what is.
I had this idea and it's been stuck in my head of this magician team, and because when I redid the opening for 5-Star Fridays, Ryan wanted to be a Doctor Strange type character, and I thought how interesting it would be, because it always bugged me to have magical characters that don't have to carry spell components and stuff around with them and can just, like, you know, say things and wag their fingers and, you know, stuff happens, and not have to, you know, like burn different herbs and chemicals or have a rod of XYZ or whatever to make it happen, like in D&D. And so I thought, well, if you had to have that stuff, that would be a lot of stuff to be able to do whatever spell comes up. And then I got the idea of if I included his husband and made Derek like his guy in the chair, except he's just a dude that follows him with a backpack just loaded up with gear and herbs and whatever he may possibly need, and carries like this big giant spell book with him so he can be the research guy on the spot. And and then I thought how interesting it would be to have the arguments between them of like, look, you're not the sorcerer supreme. I can't let you go into battle. Like, I can't let you go into battle without me having your back. Like, I could see your wife arguing you into letting her tag along if you were going to fight crime, because she's like, there's no way you're going to go out there and risk your life, and I'm not going to be there to help you. And be like, but I can't let you get hurt. I can't let you get hurt. And, I think that would be a real fun dynamic to play with. And then if you make it, they're just full of it, and the whole thing is a sham, would be even funnier.
Agreed.
The idea of a transforming bug dragging gaming is a really interesting idea, because there's so many bugs that like camouflage and stuff so well now anyway. The idea of bug out and they look like something else would kind of fit. It's not that far of a stretch. All right. A seemingly robotic Celtic monk fisher bot. Okay. They're on the ocean. So he could be fishing for something big.
Okay, so the Celtic stuff is more like typical medieval fantasy, or what we would deem to be medieval fantasy. But I like the blue tattoos type thing, or the blue markings that they tend to give themselves, because I think that's always neat.
Oh, I'm looking for the image, and it's up above my head on the screen. I'm looking all over the place for my reference image on the table, and it's not there. Maybe Mr. Fish's robot monk could have his fishing pole be his arm that looks like a praying mantis pincher. Ooh. I'm still looking over here on the table for it. I don't know why.
See, this is where these people are very dangerous, because they come up with all these ideas, and it's like, come on. Where was our brains when this is happening?
That's why I'm thinking about doing the Kickstarter with a book we work on in here, because, that way I get to let them do the hard stuff.
To be honest, that would actually be a lot of fun. I would love to be a part of that stream, see how that turns out.
But while we're here, since you guys are the kind of market that I'm aiming this towards, let me do a little market research here.
Market research!
For a short first comic, probably going to be 20 pages-ish, maybe around there somewhere. I'm not going to put a hard number on it, because there's no telling. We may come up with something crazy and go off on a tangent and end up making it 30 something. But, but assuming if it's going to be around 20 pages or something like that, for a first go, what do you think? I was kind of thinking it would just be fun to just kind of jump into the story with them as a team already and send them on an adventure, like, coming across a haunted vessel and, trying to see what was going on, a la Scooby-Doo. Or do the, I hate to say generic, but do the like standard origin issue of, this is how Space 8 came to be and how he got here, blah, 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 which is fine. It just, to me, it feels like it's been done so many times. Do we really need to know right away how it happened, or can we just be like, oh, this is wild? Yeah, this is just going to be.
Now, obviously, you're getting your research here, but I am going to toss my thoughts and opinions that you are
Toss
kind of
away.
asking for. I think you should make the origin at best like a page or two, and then just chuck them right into the action.
See, that was my other thought. Was like sort of like I did with the Mighty Caw. There's like 2 pages of the captain telling a story of when he was a kid, and it basically gives you the run up to how we got here, and now we have Gaw captured. Now we're in the story because I just wanted to get to the action and get to the good stuff. So there's that. There's the just jump into a story, or there is the do a whole. No, that's not going to work. I don't want to do that. Do the whole origin story, or just do a bit of it. Like I also thought about just doing a sort of like you would have in a manga or something, where like when the character shows up on the page, just have like a caption box that's like flung to the far future, a one-time test tape, ended up blah 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 blah, and just a little brief, this is who he is, and then when like Butch shows up on screen, a former butcher bot designed to kill humans has now been reprogrammed by Space Ape to get a second chance in
Kind of like exposition dump, like each of the little tidbits of the character, so then that way you kind of like get a general idea, and then just kind of chuck them into the fray.
Mm-hmm. And we could always go back later and do an origin issue like, oh, it was only like yesterday when I got flung into the far future, and then do like a flashback story, and that would be easy enough to do. But
okay. Oh, wait, Dadpool got okay. So we got Benjamin saying maybe do the different origins in one comic, so that maybe like we have different perspectives. Well, but Benjamin just said maybe do different origins in one comic. Then Dadpool states, drop it in the middle of a jailbreak adventure, saving a scientist that is wrongfully accused and is unethically imprisoned in a foreign system.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe
that.
like that's pretty nifty. And then from there, have the characters kind of like running out, and they're just like, for instance, I can see Space Ape going in, guns blazing, and then he's like, Butch, you think you got me over here? It's like, oh yeah, totally, we're gonna be saving a human, thanks. And then you have like Space Ape do the quick little exposition dump, and then him talking to Butch give the exposition dump, and then you have maybe the technopath who's trying to put Butch in line. You got Violet being like, now stay calm, we had it's like, don't make me reprogram you again. And then boom, give the quick exposition dump to Violet, and then drop it there, have them save the scientist, and then maybe go from there, where it's like the scientist is it's like, man, saving a scientist, it's like saving my father. It's not too long ago since I was shot into space, or something along the lines of that.
Hey, that's not a bad idea. And that would give a legit reason to touch back on his dad, because he's saving a scientist who's been accused of doing something terrible, and be like, oh, my father was accused of doing bad things all the time, but he was only in the pursuit of knowledge, only to later find out, yeah, actually Dad did do some bad stuff. Like Dad wasn't necessarily a good guy. And honestly, I'm thinking like Dad probably didn't like Space Ape very much, like look down at him as a lesser being, but oh, I could train you to do XYZ, and oh, look, he thinks he's a scientist kind of vibe, like a dad that never really respected you. But not make it super heavy, because again, I want it to be kid friendly, but that doesn't mean that it can't have some more complex stories in it as well. It just means no boobies, which I don't put. I mean, women have bosoms, but I don't put like Mardi Gras in there.
not like Coachella.
Yeah. The covers of Alice might make you think it's going to be in there, but it's not.
But no, he has expertly found a way to ensure that nothing has slipped.
I walk that line pretty carefully, and I map out. I map out where they are so I can bend the clothes just enough, and you know, because nothing bugs me more than some of these covers that are like, "Oh, I'm just barely covering," and then I'm like, there is no genetic way you are covering anything where you got that position.
That there is the genuine, what's it called? Power of the rift really covering you up there.
That's the magic of Wonderland, baby. Because in that case, you could just show the whole globe and cover up her belly button and say, "Oh, they're down there." I think I told you this, but what is your thoughts on the Michael Jackson biopic starring Michael Jackson's nephew? I don't know. I haven't seen it. I'm curious, but
Great question. I mean, to be honest, I not really. I don't know. A lot of those biopics aren't necessarily my thing. Not just because obviously I'm too focused doing my own thing, but also some celebrities. Sure, I'll be a little interested in, but I won't necessarily go out of my way to really, watch a lot of their biopics. I mean, unless that kind of person has a direct influence, so to say. I mean, which I know Michael Jackson has, but like, I don't know, not a me thing. I don't really kind of go out of my way for those. But I did remember watching the Weird Al one, which was super hysterical.
I tend to like them a lot, and more than I think I will usually. And even when like I already really like the musician or whatever, like I really enjoyed the Freddie Mercury one, and I was already a Queen fan, and it just made me love him even more, and helped me to understand some things that that were harder to understand when I was a kid, and the things were being said. It was a lot easier to see it played out and be like, oh, okay, I see what was happening. And I forget as an autistic kid that people will be untruthful, and people will lie to help sell their book or whatever. I forget that stuff. I think people, I thought people were just telling the truth when they'd say XYZ. And it's been very interesting to listen to. uh I didn't even know there was this Michael Jackson apologist. I hate to call him that, but essentially he's he's a self-made historian of Michael Jackson, and has read all of the files and complaints and all of his history about just everything. And hearing him go back and talk about things about what really happened, and citing documents and cases and reports and uh, things, and depositions that he's sat through all of, suddenly it's like, oh, okay, that makes a lot more sense. And I don't think things were as bad. I I don't think things were as bad as people imagine them to be. But nobody that's convinced things were so terrible has ever spent the time looking through everything like that. They just are going off of something they heard. And when he lays everything out specifically, and as sources to cite, it's like, oh, wait a minute, maybe it's not as bad as I thought it was. But still, I don't know, and that's the one thing that's always going to bug me, because you can never really know on that stuff because you weren't there. But and I don't want to. I never want to come down on the side of like sounding like I'm saying you don't believe people that say that something happened to them at all. It's just when the only two people that ever made any accusations were the parents of two kids who have all been accused of fraud multiple times and blackmailing other celebrities and stuff, then that brings in a little bit of a question, you know. How'd you get me off on this topic, dude? Ask me about the Michael Jackson biopic.
Hey, this is Roll for Hero, man. Anything goes at this point. But to get onto a different topic here, Benjamin asks, Benjamin writes, just post the origins of my characters after the art. For example, Nightwave was a young villain who eventually grew up into a hero, even though he was bullied for his father being an ex-crime lord. That's very interesting stuff there. Very, very interesting stuff. Love to see it. Love to be there for it. I mean, hey, I'm glad you're able to write down all your origins. I mean, for one, I'm glad you're able to write down anything and have it out there just like that. I mean, especially because it's good reference material for when you go back and finally being able to, use that as the means to probably kickstart your comic making journey. I'm probably creating that whole world of yours there. There we go. I'm trying out. This is the new pen set that I'm doing. I'm just trying not to get super serious about every detail because not everything needs to be super ethereal. Unless it's the cover, and that has to be the most serial of them all. They say don't judge a book by its cover, but literally that is how we dictate whether or not we actually might enjoy a book.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always down for a good read. Actually, I was just telling Mr. Fish before the show, I was really hoping that they had issues of the Ben 10 comic, but it turns out they're getting a second print because it's sold out that quickly at, whatever local comic shop is near me. So while I was there, I actually ended up getting a Speed Racer comic instead. And this looks like a lot of fun, especially if I want to get that more anime vibe kind of going on. So the art in this looks really, really awesome. Really can't wait to dive into that. Then I also ended up getting some of their compact books, DC compact ones, where it's like, a lot of their completed stories. That is the smartest thing DC has done ever, which was to create proper, compacts of like their well-known stories. So then that way you don't have to buy all the issues to it. You could just have that little book. Like, I'll show them off while I'm here. Might as well show those off. Might as well show them off again. Come on. Yeah, man. There we go.
I wonder why they decided to go small with it instead of regular size graphic novel, unless it was just a cost, less expensive thing.
I would say it's definitely a cost thing because this is $10. $10 for a completed series.
That makes it easier for you to get in, for you to try out a storyline that you've heard about. Yeah. Rather than buying like a $35 omnibus.
Exactly. Not only that, but I think it's also the paper quality too, because it doesn't feel like, like the glossy kind of thing. Like when you get an omnibus of a titular kind of book, it's a really heavy paper. But in this case, it's more like the, I guess the same kind of interior pages of an average novel, if you will, But yeah, I ended up getting World's Finest. I got Batman, Superman, and then I also had the New Frontier, where it has that like Batman the Animated Series style kind of to it, but it kind of talks about like the events of like after World War II, and then how the superheroes kind of cope after that. Which honestly, I very much enjoy the style of that book because it's actually kind of inspired me to really break the boundaries of what I commonly know for some of my styles, and also not to be so serious with the art. Like there are times where I'm too serious about making sure I close everything off because I do everything digital. And I see this book and it's like, it's very flowy, very much like, got to learn how to let loose, especially when you do interior art, because you're not going to really look at these pages for a very long time. But that is something that we've always stated on this channel it's if that's something that we've always stated on this show, especially if you're making interior pages, yes, make your art look pretty, but don't spend too much time on it because you're only going to look at that for literally a couple seconds.
Yeah, I mean, you everything needs to be in pursuit of telling the story as well as possible. And so, you want those faces to have good emotion, and you want, the images to be dynamic and action packed and all of that. But you can have a great story with, characters that look like they were drawn out of Steven Universe. It has a great, compelling story and has a very simple art style. It doesn't have to all be,
This magnum opus has to be perfect every page, and
yeah,
needs to be super intricate every 5 seconds. Like, no, you sometimes you just need to draw a little silhouette, a little stick figure to kind of get the point across. Not sure you do
I
that
know
all the time.
some guys that are just stalled by trying to make it perfect, and it's never going to be perfect. And I sit there watching them make the same line 50 times and redoing it. I'm like, dude, I would be halfway done with the drawing, and you're still working on the curve on that one bicep. I mean, you want it to look good, but you also like want to get done. You want to finish it and be able to hold a book in your hand. And I can always go back and say, well, I could have done a little bit better on that hand, or that chin could have been a little bit better. But you know who the characters are. You can tell what their expressions are. You can get caught up in the story, and you're reading along, and it's going through like a movie in your head. And then next thing you know, you're at the end of the book. And I never even noticed that one hand, you know, it's not as big a deal as we get in our heads about. You want to make it look good, but and you want to you have standards and whatnot, but you don't have to.
Sometimes you just need to get the point across.
Yeah,
And that's really all it comes down to. Especially because, like, I know that if I had to compare, and again, comparison is a thief of joy, but if I had to compare my book to say either something to what Mr. Fish has done, or to even some of the books that our buddy TS or even the guys over at Lucky 33 managed to create, it is subpar. Like my book isn't like the hugest thing in the world. My art is probably mid to a lot of other people, but to others, you probably might enjoy it. But again,
yeah,
it's just how you really kind of present yourself, how you present the story, and just the overall tone, the pacing, that kind of stuff really does matter. Because at the end of the day, when you read a book, you're going to read it because you want to know what's going on story wise. And the art's not going to take a backseat. If anything, it's going to help further the plot as long as you know how to, execute some specific points in there.
yeah. I'm I feel the same way on my art. Like I'm probably never going to win, an Eisner for my amazing artwork, but my artwork's fun. It tells the story. It I have expressive characters. I always get compliments from people about how interesting like my background characters and stuff are, which brings me a lot of joy because I put a lot of work into that stuff. And all of the characters have like backstories and moms and dads and lives and reasons that they do what they do, even if it doesn't get explained in the pages of the story. And it's just something I like to do that helps flesh it out as a real world to me, and it helps make those characters more interesting because, I know why she's fiddling with the dog tags on her necklace, and you know or why this other girl's always tugging at her clothes, or and that stuff makes for interesting characters. They
That
don't
it
have
does indeed. There we go. Perfect. All right, now I'm just going to do this because I think this is pretty darn empty. Do I still have that font? Please let me do. Oh, do we not have it? Dang it.
How do you
I
not
thought
still
I
have
was- No, I do not. I don't think I do. I really was hoping that I did. Because I had this one type of font that had like a lot of this like cryptic alien looking kind of it looked really cryptic and alien like. That's basically what I was trying to say here. Break. All right. Looks like I'm gonna have to draw those on because I wanted to do like cool alien symbols that had all these like really cool, patterns and all that other kind of stuff to kind of show off like the Celtic-esque design of it. Again, to really give this that alien feel. There we go. Get a little bit of a swirly pattern there.
So, what do you guys in the comments think on the Space Ape story? Do you think I should come up with a couple of ideas for the story and roll for it, or come up with a couple of ideas for the story and let you guys vote on it live on a stream? Which would be more fun for you guys?
Answer now while you have the opportunity. Because that could be a lot of interesting things too.
Operators
now-
are standing by.
Answers are. The answers are standing by.
My only thing is, I wonder how hard it would be to market a book on a Kickstarter that is going to be made up as we go along. To not be able to say, this is a story about XYZ. And, but it's a story that we're going to make up, which would have to be what we market it as. Let's roll it up, Mr. Fish, says Dragon Gaming. Let us, says Dadpool.
The conflict has begun. Well, this is interesting. Getting to either have, having the fans make up the, help out with the story process is very interesting. It's kind of like almost a choose your own adventure type situation, except in this case, you're gonna have to let the chat either choose the adventure for you, or you gotta give them like the A or B plot type thing. It's like, do I go with A, this, that, or the other, or B, this, that, or the other? And then the fans will be like, no, you're gonna go with Z, this, that, and this other.
That's the thing. It's going to be like playing a role-playing game, and they're going to take a hard left turn right away and send me into the weeds, and it's going to be all trying to figure stuff out as we go. But that's fine. I live in the weeds. I ain't scared. I spend my whole life flying by the seat of my pants. Drives my wife nuts. She is not comfortable with the chaos. And I don't like chaos. I've just grown so accustomed to it over the years that it's like learning a second language.
It's like a typical Tuesday afternoon for you. This isn't really nothing new, but for her, it's like, can we just keep something stable?
Mm-hmm.
And after meeting the both of y'all in person, I can definitely see that happening.
Oh yeah, and like she will constantly, like, if we make plans with somebody, like picking you up at the airport,
right?
Okay, like we made plans. We need to be there at this time to pick you up, and she was constantly like, well, have you checked with Esteban? Has anything changed? Did maybe he decide not to come, or did he, like, no, I haven't constantly been checking on him to make sure that, he didn't change his mind. I mean, I figured if that happened, that seems like
I
something
would have let you know.
you would message somebody and be like, "Oh, by the way, I'm not flying to Michigan after all. You don't have to drive to Detroit." I mean, it would seem like the thing you would, but and I've learned that answering like, no, I don't have any reason to believe that everything has suddenly changed for no reason is not the right answer to help calm her particular brand of like, obsessive worry on those subjects.
I mean,
So
the worry is, I will say, the worry to an extent could be very necessary because, again, things happen, and it is always nice to be a little on the matter because, 2019 was definitely not a friendly year for me, for sure, as I always tend to make that reference because that's where life threw the biggest monkey wrench in my system. So, doesn't hurt to be a little overly prepared. But trust me, to some extent, some people will let you know. Like, again, that's the Michigan thing, but I can imagine the chaos flying off the seat of your pants. That's just going to be too chaotic for some people.
oh yeah, it is not her comfort zone. She likes to be able to triple check on everything, and I do to some degree too. Like I will constantly go back and relook at the times for things because I can never believe that I have the right time for something. All right, Deadpool says, okay, so hear me out. So we choose the story, and if we ever can't agree, then we take the options and we roll them up.
That's not a bad idea. Because then from there, if people can't choose, the dice has to dictate, and dice are just nothing more than sheer random choice.
Ben says, keep Space Ape away from wrenches. I guess he meant wrenches.
Well then,
I want him to stay away from anything else with most of those words, most of those letters.
Letters, words, the ability to say things. We know what you meant there.
It makes me a little nervous, the thought of putting any type of romance in a comic just because I haven't done it before. But that's also part of the reason I want to do it is because I haven't done it before. And I'm thinking I want to take the sentient spaceship from our role playing game that we played with the kids for a long time. I think I want to bring her and make her Space Ape's ship. And because I think a little bit of a love triangle between like the motherly ship that has always been programmed to look out for Space Ape, and now this little single-celled harlot comes along and is trying to take him away and lead him off into dangerous situations where he could get hurt, and wanting to come around and not just make changes in her house but literally make changes to her. And like I could see that being a fun dynamic to play with. And I think that could be a really fun dynamic, to play up the like, mom versus girlfriend kind of hassle.
I can
Which
totally
is
see
weird
that.
to me. Why wouldn't you want your kid to be happy? But
again, it's more like the trust needs. Like, I don't trust this single-celled thing. Why are they single-celled, huh? Why can't they be multi-celled? Like you, Space Ape. Like, who do you say the robot fisherman had Celtic tattoos glow anytime he activated his monk abilities? Ooh.
Okay, see, I was already thinking the tattoo route, but Ben nailed it on the head there. Yes, that is the idea I already had.
And I more or less kind of got mine there. Not sure about the blue, but you know what? I got it done. That's all that matters. So this is my Celtic monk, bug alien lady. This show continuously surprises me with the amount of words that I'm always saying. This show, I tell you, makes me say some of the most ridiculous things. Makes me sound like I'm on drugs.
Oh, that was. Oh, okay. I thought I had to check a message from the show later tonight, which has been canceled, and I was like, oh, maybe they changed it and they didn't want to cancel it, but it was a whole nother message.
Oh, man. All right, there we go. We have our Celtic monk baker.
That came out really cool, and I am not even done.
It really had a.
Am I just talking too much here lately? Because you whooping me each time.
Yeah, I mean, I will admit. I mean, you're also trying to gather information for your next steps, whether or not you want to try to get Space Safe to do the whole drawing a whole session. That's actually that's a really unique idea, one that I would very much love to take at some point. I'm gonna steal that idea. Do a whole comic series. We'll just roll up a random character, and we're like, all right, this is the character we're gonna work on for this duration of the month. What are we doing? That would actually be very interesting. Benjamin says, dealing with the whole in-law thing in Space Ape just makes the story of the motherly spaceship and the one-cell girlfriend. Pretty much. It's like, if anything, it's like Monster in-law. If anyone saw that movie. I know I have.
I recognize the name. I can't place it. I can't place it.
Oh, the Monster in-law?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a rom-com movie about a girl who marries into this, gets proposed by this nice guy, but his mom, didn't like the idea of him getting married to this particular girl. Basically, it's like a typical mother-in-law just becoming just horrible type of story. But yeah, I can totally see that happening with Space Ape, But the thing is, for him, he doesn't really care, because for him, he's just kind of I'm here to defend the galaxy. I'm here to defend the galaxy away from evil doing. Got to protect the universe. And then you got the single-cell organism, you got Violet over here be like, but Space Ape is too dangerous. And then the AI is like, it's too dangerous. I believe that I am best fit to help with the situation. And then you have Butch over here being like, I just want to disassemble a human. Is that so hard for him? Is that too much to ask?
Yeah, it would. I think it could be fun. And I mean, and not be the whole story, but be a fun extra flavor, a fun little extra add-on to it to make it a little bit more complex and help round out the cast a bit.
Oh yeah, gotta round out the cast.
I always I'm starting to think of group books in terms of Scooby-Doo and Captain Caveman and stuff, and
honestly, Power Rangers might be a pretty good concept too. It's a whole show literally built on the concept of a team.
And who's going to be in charge, and who's going to be the smart one, and who's going to be the troublemaker, and stuff like that.
Surprised we didn't even think about Ninja Turtles, because that one's right up the alley too, because that's literally made of tropes. You got the leader, the rough one, the smart one, and the fun one.
Mm-hmm. Whoops.
Gotta love it. Imagine if the AI had a one-on-one with Butch to help him not butcher anyone. That's a very interesting one. Hey, Katie, how we doing?
What's up, Katie? Been a long time. Been a long time since you rock and roll.
Good that was going to be the name of the D&D stream that I was going to do, the Rock and Rollers. And ironically enough, it had nothing to do with music.
All right, go take this one.
This is very interesting.
For you, Kata, that probably just popped in, you're wondering, what are we drawing today? We drew essentially Celtic monk characters. So we have basically taken the Celtic culture and we rolled up, or Mr. Fish is able to pop up these two different images on the very top, which are the doodles that we've done in episode 0, and we have officially drawn up an entire character. So for us, I rolled up a baker. So my character is a Celtic monk style baker, and by the Celtic stuff, I mean like also the blue paint kind of a situation, which I think is very interesting. And yeah, I very much enjoyed this design to an extent. Again, this is a really, this is a very interesting season, having to do the rolled up stuff and then kind of go from there. Oh my, oh my. But yeah, so far this is interesting. This was a fun little session here. Got to really enjoy this. And I guess to any of you guys currently watching, would you guys want to see any of the drawing process of what I've done so far for the quote unquote solo role when I've done, Velcro to Gloria, Dart, and other characters later down the road? Let me know. Because honestly, I would like to get back into making some kind of content here. It has been a minute. Just life be lifing, be throwing me everywhere.
Man,
you ain't lying. And not only that, I mean, I'm still having to work on the Grub issue number 2. I'm almost there. But yeah, make sure you write. For those that are also here, make sure you write your scripts, because I literally am flying off the seat of my pants trying to figure out what's going on in this issue number 2. So
that's why I want to plan out for this one more than I normally do. I really want to plan out what the main vibe I want to tell of the story is with Space Ape. And I think what I've hit on so far is what I keep coming back to is the idea of that nobody's beyond a second chance, and that there's always hope, and that that very positive kind of vibe, and that there's like nothing to it but to do it. You just got to put your mind to it and figure out a way. And for Space Ape, it's a faith in science will see him through. There's always an answer. There's always some reason behind things and some way to fix it. But that there's nothing that you can't do if you put your mind to it, I think is the vibe I want to go for. Overall, that's what I want his stories to be about.
Okay. Story about second chances. Very interesting. Very interesting.
And, never be the guy that would we need to kill the Joker. And, because he's not that dude. And he's like actively trying to, what's the word I'm looking for? He's trying to fix Butch and make him a hero. He truly believes he can make him a good guy if he
restores.
Yeah,
I guess
enough. Rehabilitate. That's the word.
That's the one.
But redeem is a good one too. That's every bit as good a word for what I'm trying to do.
Well, how about that? That looks over here. Yeah, because themes are also something that I have yet to properly work on. Because again, I always just want to draw the guys fighting each other type situation. So I never really got to actually do anything as intricate or as deep, or even if it was something as simple as trying to show that kind of a concept. I always loved the idea of doing those little like fun one-off stories of like the characters. Like for instance, like maybe there's like maybe a Spider-Man story where I think there was a Spider-Man story where he actually like goes on this whole like routine like patrol, and every portion of where he goes, it's like his spider sense keeps going off, and in particular, it's this one area that his sense continuously goes off because that was the same spot where Uncle Ben gets shot. Or one of those little wholesome stories of a superhero doing something really small and minute, and again, not like anything intensive or insane, but it's more like you took the time out of your day to do this kind of a thing, Like, again, some of the webtoon stuff for DC, especially, the Bat Family type stuff where we see like Nightwing talking to a little girl, about like what it's like to lose people, or you get to see Damien having to confront Tim, being like, "But you're like the purest Robin, and I was a weapon," that kind of whole thing. So I always want to do stuff like that, especially whenever I listen to like anime music or something along the lines of that, where like, especially My Hero Academia, whenever I listen to like, some of those soundtracks, it gets me thinking about like a scene in my head where it's like, oh my God, what if like the Grub had to deal with this? No other hero was helping him out. It was like a whole, like him versus a whole group of villains. And in that moment, he shows true heroism in that moment. And like other heroes see that and they're like, I was lacking something that this guy, definitely made up for. Dragon Gaming says, with the theme of second chances, what if Butch had to disassemble a human, but it was the one human he tolerated because that human treated him kindly, but it was the only way to save that human? So like maybe to disassemble, maybe to do something surgical. So he's like, oh, I'll have to disassemble, then reassemble. I could see where that can go, like plot wise.
Or like the one chance he gets to disassemble someone, he's totally apprehensive about it and like is going to get to do the thing he's been wanting to do, and now he can't even enjoy it because he's scared of what if it doesn't work, because this is an organic I depend on, That could be really cool.
That could be a lot of that. Again, simple stuff like that. Very simple, but yet very in depth. And like again, it's probably like one of those things like later down the road, I was like, this was a super in depth story. How do they ever think of such intricacies? It's like we just wanted to do a simple story.
Mm-hmm.
Very good stuff. Very good stuff all around. Trying to figure out what I would do. I had a lot of other, might as well take this opportunity while I'm yipping and conversing to kind of talk about the other ideas that I had for other stories, like one does. I remember to have this one like a story about dinosaur racers. So honestly, the way that I would probably think about it, think like Speed Racer, but instead of with race cars, it would be with dinosaurs. Now that I really think about it, a lot of crazy intrigue, a lot of like, pulling of the strings behind the scenes. And then you have like the main character who has like this iguanodon, but then, like his crush has this I can't say that one dinosaur name. That is way too hard for me. Like maybe there's different types of racings from dinosaurs, like with T-Rexes, Triceratops, to Velociraptors, pterodactyls, if there's like any flying types.
So are they like riding the dinosaurs, or are the dinosaurs like anthropomorphic creatures?
So they're riding the dinosaurs. So like imagine, if you will, like you have, the four-legged team, and then you essentially had like the Triceratops, the Stegosaurus, or not Stegosaurus? No. It was I think it was a Styracosaurus. There's a lot of sauruses here, but a lot of like you say the four-legged race, and then you got like a Triceratops, an Ankylosaurus, stuff like that, and they make them go on a whole crazy race. And then maybe you have the two-legged one where it might be like an Allosaurus or a Tyrannosaurus, and they're just kind of doing their whole thing there. But then again, imagine the intrigues that go behind the scenes. Like maybe you'll find that these racers are also having to use the race as a cover-up to trying to bust an operation to freeing a bunch of wild dinosaurs, or maybe there's a whole wild dinosaur outbreak or something like that. Who knows? That's one idea that I had. Because also the opportunity to draw dinosaurs would be a lot of fun. And then I remember I drew a whole like team of dinosaur like heroes. So they're like these guys that wore these cybernetic armor pieces and whatnot, but they were all themed after a different dinosaur. He had a girl based on a Triceratops. The main dude was a T-Rex. Then you had another dude who's based off of a pterodactyl. There was another, like, I guess the best way I could describe it was like a goth girl who would wear a velociraptor kind of suit. So there's a lot of other cool, intricate ideas. A lot of dinosaur stuff, obviously. What are some other crazier ideas I had? I have lots.
I'm working on a dinosaur book right now. It's got a lot of humans and some cyborgs and wizards and anthropomorphic dinosaurs in armor, and nearly everything is asymmetrical, and it's fun and it's really cool, and it's like all the stuff I grew up loving, from He-Man to Thundercats, is like all wrapped up into one thing. The only problem is it's off of a line of toys, so everything has to be real specific to look like the
Mm.
figures. And the guy that designed the figures, his imagination, I've never run into it quite the same way as I have on this project. His imagination just runs differently than mine. And so every place I would have put XYZ, it's not there. And everything that he puts someplace is where I never would have thought to put it, or it shapes I wouldn't have thought to use, or like we all have like a clip art in our head of what we put in the background when we're drawing technical things, you know, and you just got to draw a lot of little greeblies. His stuff is completely different than mine. So like I'm constantly having to look at it as a reference. I realized the other day it's like if I was doing a comic book about like Chinese calligraphy as characters.
Oof.
I don't think I would ever get comfortable enough to draw one without looking at the references to make sure it looked right. And there's just so many little details to get right. And that's tough. It's been very challenging. It's not bad. It's just, it's been much more challenging than, you know, drawing a superhero in tights normally is. But I've never run into a situation where my imagination just, I mean, I've run into some clients before where our imaginations just didn't gel at all. And like, I don't understand what you think is cool about this. So like, I don't take the project because I don't get what you think is cool about this idea. So I don't know how to make it look cool on a page. If I don't know why you like the pie slinging waitress as your main character, you know, in a story where fire ants are trying to take over the world. If I don't get it and I don't get what's cool about that idea, I'm not going to take it on and do a lame job because I just don't get it. That's not fair. But um but this one, like, it's cool. I dig it. I love all the stuff and I love all the source material that like inspired it. It's just, man, our imaginations flow differently, which is just wild.
We love some wild imaginations.
Oh yeah, his designs are great. They're just very different than I would have done.
Mm. Speaking of crazier ideas, I totally remember I'm looking through my sketchbook and I managed to find at least one other idea that I did have in mind. It's for a little fantasy comic series that I had called Tales of Azodia. It's supposed to be based off of like, you know, characters that I had for like a D&D setting. You follow these two dudes. One of them is a warrior character who's always wearing a helmet, and then you follow a kid who wants to be the world's greatest mage. And the stories like them, they go on a series of different adventures trying to prove to themselves that they are going to be the best of the best, you know? And along the way, of course, they make a lot of friends in this really chaotically strange, you know, whacked out fantasy world. I remember I made a page of it and I showed you, Fish. I made it a while back, but you know, I would love to kind of touch on that kind of, there's a lot of stories I would love to do. Obviously there's, another one. I ended up watching this one show made by Saban Entertainment that does Power Rangers, but this was their own show without Japanese footage. It was called Knights of Talnador or something like that.
Oh, that, yeah.
And I remembered I drew, you know, I'm going to see if I can find it here, but I remembered I drew some of these, where are they at? It should be in other ideas. These armored pieces, if you will, if I can find them. They're right here. So I wanted to go with like Legends of the Mythic Knights, if you will. That's what I called it. And essentially you have like a knight based on an element and or a mythical creature. Now in particular, I did mythical creatures. So we have the White Unicorn Knight, and then we have the Red Dragon Knight, you know, and then there would basically be like, they would be themed off of like different mythical animals and stuff like that. Oh, I keep cutting out. My apologies there, Ben. I didn't know that.
Not super bad, but it's definitely like cut your audio a little bit a couple of times.
Oh yeah, so that was another fun idea there. Let's see if I can go off of that. Then I got this one idea that's still been in development for a very long time that I had, just called Fruit Punch. Don't even know what to even do with a title like that, because I couldn't tell if I wanted to go like Dragon Ball Z with it, make it like a cool action adventure type thing, make it a more gritty Street Fighters kind of a story. That was always something I wanted to work on for a bit. And of course, we also happen to have a lot of the other Roll for Hero stuff. Primal Empire would be a blast and a half to work on, getting to work on, like, drawing out the psychedelic nature of the spirit animals tying themselves to the elemental forces, or, getting to draw like a proper main protagonist who actually ties themselves to that, trying to be one with the nature and, using that whole core premise. That would be very interesting. Birds of a Feather would definitely be one that I would love to work on. If I had to do like any of these Roll for Hero ones, Birds of a Feather would be the one to go.
Okay, let's go that.
Genuinely, just because it looks like a fun. This looks like the kind of book where you can see a lot of those, like, learning each other's personalities, learning that you're not alone. I can definitely see a lot of the values of like those type of stories in this. It's like you don't know what it's like to be alone. It's like we're the only bird sisters left here. Like, I can see that type of intricate storytelling. And of course, you can't deny Jupiter Jack, Meteor Mandy, all those fun guys.
All right. Yeah, let's do that one.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk of just listening to me talk about all the random ideas that I currently have and that I would love to turn into comics. But I'm still trying my best to work.
Those comics, my PayPal is.
At this point, they're just nothing more than hopes and dreams, because right now the grub is at least something. Actually, there's even a grub cover that I was working on, because I found out a really cool. Wrong one. Found out a really cool title, or a good name for a villainess. Got some working covers here. Like, we have a grub fighting off a villain named Electrolytes, who is like a former hero, now turned villain. This was a lot of fun to work on. And then we have him fighting Fist Face McGee. This was definitely one of the more unique covers, where he's just, again, it's not every day you see a dude with a fist for a hand.
Mm-hmm.
So I love the idea of like that kind. Again, I love the wacky character concept and stuff like that. Just to really dive into the weirder parts of villains that we don't really get to see often.
Mm-hmm. Well, they steer away from the silly stuff nowadays so hard, and like the Tin-Eyed Man and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
That I just generally I think are pretty fun. I mean, occasionally I'm like, man, that was dumb, but most of the time I can see the fun in it and dig it. I guess it really comes down to if you're portraying it to me as, hey, check out this, isn't this wild? Then okay, that's fun. If you're portraying it to me as, they're stupid kids, they'll watch anything, then I have beef with it.
Oh yeah, the way that I would also kind of go about, especially with the villains for the grub, is like a combination of Adam West Batman type of stuff combined with the Spider-Man quality of intensity. Like Fist Face McGee over here. And by the way, Benjamin, yes, you are correct. I did create a secondary character who's basically the brother. So he's literally called the right-hand man. You got Fist Face McGee, who's the left, and then you have his brother, who's more like part of the mafia, and he's called right-hand man. That goes to my wife because she came up with that, and I was upset that I didn't make it up first. But yeah, so love this cover. And it has that Adam West feel, but also that same level of intensity. Then we also have this other cover that I worked on where it is the grub versus the gargoyle. It's like kind of like a Green Goblin archetype, if you will, but more of a flight suit type of kind of a character. So love the way that this kind of came out, especially with the falling notion or the falling positionings and stuff. This one I have yet to do a background for, but I love the way that this is also posed out, where he's fighting, the Dark Thorn.
Ooh.
very dynamic. And then this one is yet to be done, but this is basically him meeting like his for Spider-Man he has Black Cat. So for me, I have Ringtail, a raccoon themed villainess or anti-hero, if you will. And I based her off of like 3 characters. So I based her off of Catwoman, obviously, and Squirrel Girl. And then on top of that, I then based her off of Sly Cooper. Because I decided to give her the little like hook cane type thing, which she would probably use to like kind of hobo style grab like a thing of cash and just make her escape. But then I gave her like a raccoon tail that can also work as that as well. So isn't that the character you mentioned who was yes, I did. And then imagine a villain based off of the natural predator of a grub. That's actually where I got the inspiration for Ringtail. It was actually because I looked up different, things that were, things that eat up a grub, and a raccoon was one of them. But I am not opposed to looking at other bugs and other ideas. And the more I think about it, I almost have a bit of a weird Power Rangers edge with the grub, if you will. Like when I came up with the character, I unintentionally created like the foot soldiers, which are basically an issue 2, which are the exterminators. And then I feel like that they can always do a fun little premise of the villain of the week where, oh, well, let's get this guy and we'll have him, be bitten by one of these other genetically enhanced animals. And then boom, there's a new villain or a potential anti-hero or something like that. That can bring like a fun villain of the week dynamic as well.
Mm-hmm.
But then that can get old real quick. So obviously that's why I want to do other villains as well. But there is a lot of potential with that, especially if we did like natural predators of a grub, and I mean, there's tons of them. Where are you at? There we go. Yeah, here's all the other ideas. Yeah, man, that is coming along great there, Fish.
Yeah, it's gonna be all right. But whoa, hit the wrong button. But that gives us the idea of what I was thinking of a robot fisherman monk. Oh, I forgot the tattoos. That's what I meant to do. I really wanted to put that on there. Let me see.
The archive memo. What are my thoughts on the death of Superman? Not fully sure. Never really read those myself, but it was an impact in pop culture for sure. Because I mean, people really tried making Superman as much of a. They tried making him up to date, which is really hard because he was such a like golden standard of being a hero. So to kill him off was like a really big deal, and it was actually something that was mentioned plenty of times in meetings and discussions too before they even contemplated it. Then to Benjamin, imagine if the right-hand man funded the creation of the villain base off of the grub's natural predators. That could be interesting. That would be a very interesting take. Maybe like the mafia supports the industry that actually got, the grub to have his powers to begin with. That's very interesting. Did you see my Dino Racer comment earlier? I kind of. Let me see, because I know there's a lot of comments there. Let me see if I can find it again, please. Come on. All right. Date. Sorry, because my computer is trying to keep up. Doing all this. Come on now. Can I please see the comments so I can scroll? There we go. All right. Done. Okay, sorry, I gotta do that. Let's go up. Dino is just having a raptor gang, biker gang, triceratops be like, the tanks, T-Rexes being like derby races while they crash into each other. That could be very interesting. Different type of racing styles for different type of dinosaurs. There is something there for sure.
There.
Dart earlier could either be an ally or an enemy to the grub. Honestly, as much as I'd love to see those two cross over, I think Dart is very much his own kind of character, especially when I was conceptualizing it the day that I made him up. I thought it would be interesting to tell the story of him kind of like being an experiment that was made before a big event happened, which created this hybrid of a techno-organic jungle. And now, like, Dart has to kind of traverse that whole new plane of existence, and then having to save other people, still trying to be like a good moralistic character. So as much as I would love to do like a superhero team up, I really would love to try to do something different. Again, expand my storytelling beyond guys in tights. Thoughts on DC versus Marvel comic series, an amalgam, which combined. Ooh, now you see, I wish amalgam was still a thing, but I know that by a company or by a business standpoint, that is not a. I'm not gonna say it's a stable thing, because it could, but I don't see it being a very long-lasting concept. Because again, amalgam is a really cool concept. The fact that you combine DC and Marvel heroes, I feel like they could have done that more efficiently, because there were some heroes where you were like, yeah, that's just Captain America with a Superman shield. Or they did Batman twice. They made Bruce Wayne Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Dark Claw, which is Wolverine with claws. Essentially, it was essentially just with a Batman type of thing, which again, the designs were cool. They were very interesting, but I feel like they could definitely do a better concept of merging those characters together. I would definitely love to see an entire series again, if that is even possible. But, the crossovers that we have now, especially today with the Spider-Man and Superman crossover, with the Deadpool and Batman stuff, I'll take that any day right now, just because we finally got to have a crossover. And it doesn't feel like a giant multiversal situation. That's what I like about it too, because I remember they used to do crossovers way back when, and it was just a simple like crossover. I remember when Superman and Spider-Man crossed over, they kind of traded each other as competing news corporations, not as like some crazy multiversal threat. Yeah, also how they get around with Darkclaw having the same last name as Bruce Wayne, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. That just goes to show you that people love Batman a lot more than ever. I remember they did Spider-Boy. That was actually an interesting concept. You see, that's the Spider-Boy that I wish that they would continue with. But now they have their own different character that they did, and I'm very iffy on that. But again, I don't know much about that character, so I'm not really fully on board with it.
There we go. We got his glowing tattoos now.
Okay, love that. Getting to see that whole thing being put together. Kind of should have stuck with the cyan on my side, but that is great.
Yeah, I like that. I think he's a cool character. I liked adding in his mustache into the shape of his face. I think was fun, and I really like this guy. I think this guy came out really cool. I think he would make an interesting character, at least for a short story. Maybe not a whole series, but he would definitely be.
I can definitely see like maybe a simple one shot, or maybe like a side story if there was like something more main type of thing. Like a
Somebody out there willing to risk his life on the sea that he would sink directly to the bottom of if he fell out of the boat, and risk his life to hunt down like some giant dangerous whale-sized fish to bring back and feed the people and light the lamps and whatnot. God, what would it take to spend your life on the sea knowing it would kill you instantly? Like, anybody could die in the ocean, but at least like I could swim. I'm fat. I could float for days. I might still get ate by a shark or a sea monster or something. I could still drown, but I'll float for a long time.
Oh yeah, actually,
he's gonna sink to the bottom.
Oh, for sure. But I can definitely see something with this character right over here, the little druid that I did it for last session.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe instead of being like a complete one-off, what if it was like an adventure in which like the spirit of the land is like, hey, you need to go here now, and then they encounter this automaton, sailor / fisherman, and maybe that she's like, you need to assist him now, kind of like segueing that whole plot point of like getting to expand on that.
And he's on and this is a spiritual mission for him as a monk. Like, he is a monk of the sea. Like, they worship and study the sea and keeping balance. and being good stewards of it and learning from the waves and to move like the waves and blah blah blah. Like he's spent his life studying the sea, even though he's poorly equipped to do it. Like just the thought of him rusting and stuff with all that seawater has got to be a beast.
I thought you were gonna make like the mustache or like the beard, like the rust over that time span. I think that would be a very interesting design choice there.
Oh, that's a good idea. Oh, I wish I thought of that. I might need to add in like a big bushy rust beard. But the thought of dedicating your life to how do you get focused into something like that when you're basically allergic to it? Like did he get adopted by monks and was raised there and knows no other life than the sea? And
was he built by monks, or was there a monk that maybe transferred their soul to this automaton body? Hence why they desire, but they are no longer able to. Maybe it might be a curse, a blessing, something in between.
That could be interesting. I don't know, man. I kind of like the idea of him being adopted by them or being taken in because they're monks and like he needed a place to go. And so they're like, well, you're welcome here and you can learn our ways. And then he just spends a lifetime learning their ways and wants to learn to master it. But that requires being out on the sea and learning to take down these, like his Moby Dick could be capturing, one of these prime examples of this fish when it's at the end of his life, and like so many times he's found one of them, but for whatever reason, it wasn't one he could harvest because it was too young or it was a mother or something other fishermen would still take because he's a monk. He's like, no, I can't take that one. But there's that one old one that's big and wily and spry and has had his time and has, given his children to the world. And now, he's the one that I need to take to reach enlightenment or whatever. And that would be an interesting challenge for Farm Boy to come help him on and help him, track it down and achieve his goal in life. That is a good issue right there. That's a good chapter in the manga right there.
For sure.
What he's doing.
We definitely got to give this
rusty butt. Yeah.
We definitely got to give this world a name for sure. Like we got to give this like a nice, because I feel like having, like you have Star Wars. I think when we came up with Jupiter Jack, I came up with the title Starbound because that's what it feels like it would be called, especially if you have different stories in space. So we have this whole story set in a very alien-like planet. What would
and old, like something like the ancient stars or something, or something that marks that it's a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Something that marks that it's old and, of the stars. And
like,
I think there's something in Starlight because it came from so long ago. There's something in there. I think there's a seed of something.
The sandal starlight.
This is where Deadpool is supposed to jump in with an amazing idea, or
Dragon Gaming can probably pop
or Dragon Gaming
title here, and then we could probably go from there. Come on, guys, chop. Your uncles need help.
Somebody should be popping in with the perfect answer that we missed because it's right there in front of our face.
Exactly.
We can't see the forest for all the freaking trees in the way. But yeah, maybe this world could be like a possibility of the past world of Jupiter Jacks. Sands of Time. Okay.
Ooh, that's a pretty good one.
That's not bad. Oh man.
A planet of sands and stars.
I'm thinking Starlight Hourglass, but that doesn't make any sense.
Okay, no, hold on. Wait, Benjamin's on something here because I was just thinking about the same thing too. The dust and the stars, or like
Twilight
the stardust.
Dunes.
Twilight Dunes. Ah,
Twilight Stars could be good.
but I like this. I think Stardust would be a really interesting one here
Mhm.
because that one has that sandal like old timey feel, but also still feels like it's very much like akin to space, time, and everything else. Like the star, like if anything, we can call it a Stardust Odyssey.
Mhm. That's not bad. That's not bad. I think we're moseying in the sands between. That sounds like a soap opera. This time on Sands Between. I got
Last time.
sands in my cheeks again. Tune in next time.
Oh my lord, you don't want to hear what ended up happening. You know what? They do want to hear this. I remember I was making a joke like, oh, what if we created a bunch of other heroes based on, the other planets? Because we have Jupiter Jack, and then we have, instead of Meteor Mandy, it would be Mercury Mandy. Stardust Journey. Oh, that's a good one. Stardust Journey. Be interesting. Anyways, so there was Jupiter Jack, and then I was like, instead of Meteor Mandy, what if it was Mercury Mandy? Because small goes around the sun really, really fast. It makes total sense. And then I'm like, okay, what if we did it for the other planets? And then Mr. Fish over here had to be, had to have a smart mouth brain combination here. What was that one character you came up with?
Oh, what if we did Uranus Janus?
Uranus.
And she could, be big and gassy. And
Like Jupiter Jack wasn't that. Oh.
oh, that'd be a doozy. Yeah, that one's just going to be difficult because it's hard not to make a joke out of that one.
Oh, for sure. But I mean,
but I do like the idea. I like the idea of like the smaller she gets, the faster she gets, and like giving her like heat-based powers because of Mercury being so close to the sun. There's a lot I like with that. Summer Bandit coming in late. What is up? Star Shore might be good.
Ooh, Star Shore. You know what? I like it because well, I mean, I guess if I had to be the scummy businessman, it does sound like Star Wars, and we can totally play into that.
Mm-hmm. It does, but
then there's Stardust Journey.
Stars, it doesn't roll off the tongue quite as easily.
Star Shores.
Star Shores does, but you're right. It does sound a lot like
Star
Wars.
Now, if you're trying to use that title to kind of trick somebody to be like, oh, wait, this is like not a Star Wars thing, then yeah, I mean, obviously don't do that. But I mean, I like Stardust Odyssey or Stardust Journey because that does kind of make sense to an extent, because especially if we have like, say, Farm Boy over here being like the main character, so to say.
On this epic journey, trying to go out.
Odyssey, if you will.
Maybe figure out what he needs to save the day and come back. Yeah, I like Stardust Odyssey works really well for that.
The Sands of the Galaxy. That one sounds more of a that one sounds more of a spacefaring adventure kind of a story. Mm-hmm. I think Stardust Odyssey or Starlight Odyssey might be very interesting.
Which, again, comes down to the question, is this like one big planet that, like, in my mind, it's always been the idea of like these alien gods from all these different worlds, which is where all these different like hints of these cultures would come from, have come in to try and like take over parts of this world, and which is why you would have like aliens and stuff that look so different than some of the other people, because they might have brought them from other planets and are trying to take over the place and fight for dominance. Like you had sent a bunch of emissaries from your countries to the New World to, try and stake out as much claim as you can and win the locals over to your side so that, we can claim the whole planet. But, I mean, it could just be, a planet where all these people just so happen to all have similar aesthetics to our world. Or it could be a series of small planets that are all very close to each other that they could, like what was it? Starjammers or whatever, or Spelljammers, where they could
Spelljammers.
fly ships through space and go from one world to the next, like book passage on a ship and go to the next world, which would have a whole different theme and vibe going on. And you could have people that have traveled from one world to the next, like immigrants or whatnot. Like there's
Right.
fishmen living on the desert planet with the Egypt vibe because they moved because things were bad at home, and now they're outsiders here. And like it could really play into that whole vibe.
And plus,
um
that would actually give the concept of, say, Stardust Odyssey or Stardust Journey more of that. And like the title would make a lot more sense because
Mhm.
now the farm boy, if you will, is being guarded by, is
God's
being guided.
okay, no, God's dandruff. There we go.
That sounds more like that sounds like a comedy comic about God just having to deal with our nonsense.
Mhm.
Gotta love it. Stardust Crusade. What are we talking about here? JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
See,
So the
that's kind of what
gods
I was thinking with what Benjamin's
gods of
saying.
this world could be semi-powerful groups of aliens who teach the people on the planet about their different religions. That's interesting. I do like the idea of traversing maybe from like kind of like what if it was like a coalition, like I guess we could say like I wouldn't say coalition, but like a cluster, if you will, of different asteroids, different rock formations that would basically be like moon-sized, planet-sized to an extent, and they all kind of live close but not too close. And hence, each of those little bubbles, those little planets, are like their own unique environment. And then from there, the title of Stardust Odyssey makes a little bit more sense, especially if we have like the main character. Again, I'm going to claim this one to be the main character, unless I'm told otherwise. But it's like,
I think that's a good idea.
and then have this character being guided by the stars, being told like, hey, you need to go here now and fix this dilemma. Hey, you need to go here, fix this situation. Go there, fix that. Or hey, you need to do this to fulfill this
And
one's
maybe
destiny.
ultimately, realize in the end that all these different worlds aren't that different, and that all the people, while vastly different, looking aliens and robots and whatnot, really aren't that different. And they're all, just looking for their place in the universe and want to be of value and want to feel like they accomplished something in their time. Uh, Now, see, I think we need to make it the never ending stormy, you see. Then we really got that. Sounds like a good title. That sounds like, but what we need is a big white dog. We'll call him Cliffon, the big white dog. Yeah, that's it. We'll make a series of
Exactly.
children's books. We're gonna make money.
I think Stardust Odyssey might have a good title to it, or
Does
the
have
never
good vibe.
does have a very interesting vibe to it. Again, this is a really interesting season, very different from what we usually do from the past two. So this one's I like this one too because the environments make a lot more sense. The gods, you could say, were these higher powered aliens, make a lot more sense to have their culturalistic impact in the world, if you will. I
And
can
some
see
of
that.
them could even be like almost like corporations. Some of them could be like, instead of like one warlord god being like, you all need to worship me and I'm Pharaoh and you need to bow. They could be like guilds that have taken over this world, and we control things. And and that would be a really good like way the Thieves Guild is trying to like you know, counteract and take over and change the politics and whatnot. That could be really interesting. Where
Oh
some are
yeah.
ruled by a warlord and that thinks he's a god, and some are ruled by guilds that are just looking for profit, or or some are led by paladins, like a church of paladin warriors that are trying to serve a deity that and and it has gone so weird in so many ways that you got one dude who's serving it by marching through the worlds as a merchant, leaving havoc in his path. Um, th- this is getting to be an interesting world.
It really is. I think it was because for me the reason why I wasn't so set on this, because again, I will never stop saying it until the season's done, but this has always been one of the weirder seasons for me because of the fact that there wasn't like a set. I think for me it's like I wanted to treat it like the Navi. I wanted it to have like a set alien group, but drawing the same aliens over time does tend to get very boring, very samey. And like basically just doing a little different variety is always strange. So this one always keeps throwing me off. But now that we're coming up
It
with
was
an idea,
definitely throwing a wrench in the mix, which I like to do. I admit I'm a stinker.
oh
I
no,
enjoy
100%. And again, I like the fact that it kind of forced me to really kind of get.
Mhm.
Again, the whole point of the show is it's supposed to force you, get you out of your comfort zone. And for me, this has definitely gotten me out of my comfort zone by a metric ton. Because again, there are things I had never thought I would draw on this show ever, especially this season, given the amount of like interesting designs that we had to go with. Because again, like the first episode, I thought this was going to be more of a bug-like creature rather than a centaur. Benjamin says, imagine the gods of this world use their biology as resemblance to different religions. Like Egyptian aliens has crest like Pharaoh's crown. Yeah, exactly. Infinite sands could be one. I'm personally sticking with Stardust Odyssey.
Sounds good too, but I really like the idea of a farm boy, from the middle of nowhere, being sent on this mission. We've been sent on a mission from God to go out and try and save the day, and being forced so far out of his that not only does he have to travel his world, but travel many other worlds and go to places he never dreamed of being, places he's always been told are terrifying, only to realize that the scary people that live there are moms and dads and, are just trying to take care of their families and whatnot, and dealing with the same kind of stuff everybody is, and dealing with the same consistent problem through everything, like the environment's been being poisoned by things being out of balance, and his spirit guide is helping him show them ways that things are out of balance, and they can turn things around before it's too late and make everything better for everybody. And the thought of going on this long journey to kind of feel like maybe I didn't make as much of a difference as I hoped I did. But when you look back at it and see the change that it's made over everything, and the change it has over time, and how it brings healing to all these worlds, it could be really beautiful to see like a planet of barren rock and sands be covered in jungles later on because they quit, polluting it and stuff or whatever, and he inspired the people to, do what was right. And,
There's an interesting story here, and there is something that can be cultivated from this for sure. What it is, we'll figure that out. Imagine Mystery's robot fisherman has to sell fish to
the fish alien baker.
baker.
Well, I suppose he's got to eat, and he'd probably rather eat fish and stuff than, bread. So it would make sense.
Not wrong there.
That could be the way that he gets connected to go from one world to the next. Is like, I've got a contact. He can ferry you to the next planet, and along the way they find out the story about this sailor, that the sinking sailor, and why he's risking his life to on this crusade to reach enlightenment, which I could see everybody doubting a robot could even reach enlightenment. Like that would is actually a beautiful idea and a beautiful journey.
That's like, oh yeah, I think that right there would be one of the most memorable chapters of this entire like world, this whole story, if you will. Like again, the robot seeking enlightenment after taking out the thing that like it's staying alive, kind of a thing, where it's like, again, it has to take out its Moby Dick. It's the one creature that's left alive. It's already lived its life, but it's living at this point just because. And now you have this monk trying to take it out because at this point it's serviceable to feed, people on the land. It doesn't need to eat, but it knows that there are those around it that need to consume. So like that right there is already a whole different. Again, it's something that has layers to it. Like we may view it as like a simple, wholesome story, but people can look at that and reach and like look at it from different layers and different perspectives. That right there is where I feel like a lot of writers tend to get lost because they want to try to make everything so in depth. Sometimes you just need the surface level stuff.
Oh man,
surface implies you can go deep.
I've read a lot of indie comics lately that had so much interesting world building and so much complicated doodads going on in the background and so many layers of stuff, but didn't have an actual story. Like
Mm.
there is a main character who does some things, but there's no real story or motivation for what he's doing. It's really just to get from point A to B so that I can show off more of my interesting world building that I did. And now he's going to go to C for no reason because I want to show you what I did over here. And there's no point to it. And
Oh yeah.
that's frustrating. Because it's all really interesting and it's all really beautiful, but I have no reason to care because you haven't
Right.
given me a reason to care about the character. You haven't given me a motivation that I can relate to. Even if I don't get it, if I didn't live it, I could still understand, you know, how, we're trying to make our dad proud, or we're trying to prove everybody wrong that, we can be a hero, or, I want to save my lost dog, whatever it is. Like, give me something to care about and hope that you make it over that hill to survive and to win the day. Don't just be like, there's a hill because on the other side is a whole world that I built full of, this, that, and the other.
Oh
And
yeah.
they use rocks for money and, sing instead of talk, and just cool stuff, but no meat on the bone.
No substance. Again, I think a really good example of that is like what I have in mind for the Grub. Like, again, I tend to go back to that because that's the only character I've been developing for a while. But the way that I developed the world is like, oh, there's this great event that happened called the Great Collide or the Great Galactic War, or however they call it. Basically, a bunch of these worlds came together, and now the world has changed forever. It's like if Marvel, DC, a touch of Tokusatsu just kind of merged together to become this one whole planet. But we don't learn about that, but we only learn through like small context clues because the whole point of the world is that you're focusing on a character. Like, again, we're focusing on the Grub in this instance and the world that he's encountering. You're going to see the world, but you're going to see it through his eyes, not just because we're going to look over the other mountain. We're going to see a situation that happens, and then you're going to learn a little bit about it later on in the story. Again, your story shouldn't be about the setting. Your story should be about the character that's interacting with the setting, with the environment, and then learning, something from that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's a hard line to learn to walk, and we all have to learn to crawl before we can walk, before we can run, and everybody has to learn and all this stuff. But sometimes I see books from creators that have put out, 10, 12 books at this point, and I'm like, we should have evolved past this point by now. But, sometimes we don't. Let's see. Imagine Mr. Ducks.
Mr. Ducks.
Oh, Mr. Duck. Imagine Mr. Fish's Chinese duck tries to help mentor a turtle alien that is a member of Mr. E's Egyptian turtle rogue species. Or imagine if the Grub as a crossover with Xander Flick's Bullet Boy.
Oh man, that'll be a crossover to behold. But I have to get a grab of Xander Flicks on that one. See where that's all about. I mean, even if you could, I don't know if it could happen or not. But yeah, I mean, other than that, this is a really I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm running on 50% here. I'm on 50, not 5, not 1.5. I'm on 5.0 right now, just because work kind of spent me a little bit. But this was a very interesting episode of Roll for Hero. Again, every episode is always really interesting, just getting to see how we're coming up with characters. I'm loving I'm now happy with the concept of what we have now. I could see this becoming a series. I can now finally see, okay, now here's the story. It takes us 5 episodes in, if I'm correct, right? Yeah, 5 episodes in.
I knew we'd find it, though. I knew it would come out organically. Because, like everybody said early on, it felt like we were making a bunch of NPCs to start with. But now I'm starting to see how well they could all tie together. And what an interesting... Oh, man, come on.
Oh, dangers.
It timed out on me. Well, I guess that's a good time to call it a day.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like we were just yapping for the sake of yapping. I was trying to hold you a bit. I was trying to hold everyone at bay so then I can let you finish your art piece there. So I think obviously this is a good time to end it all here. But back to what Fish was saying, totally makes sense because we were just making a lot of NPCs. And at some point we did find a main character. We did find out a now plausible plot to work on if we ever decide to make this into a story or not. Again, a lot of these are up in the air. But let us know what you guys managed to draw. Use the hashtag roll for hero. Guys, this was a blast and a half, Mr. Fish. Obviously, I'm going to sign us off here.
Yeah.
So, all righty then. So to each of the nieces, nephews, and to those in between, make sure to follow these 3 simple rules. Make sure to stay awesome, make sure to stay weird, and to always keep life to the easiest. Remember that art inspires all, but you can inspire more. Never forget that your uncles love you, and y'all keep it easy.
Roll for hero.
And even if you were to have like a prompt of 10 different things, right? Like say if you had one prompt of like, oh, like here's 10 different personality traits, here's 10 different superpowers, here's 10 different drawbacks.
I like coming up with random list of powers and then just see what I come up with.
Imagine rolling just those things every single time. It's always going to vary. The possibility of that happening is, again, like a 1 in 10 chance, but it's like, it shows that there's a different
There's always something else cool right around the corner that we can come up with because